up if you're all good. Excellent. That's really good. So Andrew's muted you, not because we don't love you, but just because so I can concentrate, because it's I'm going to test you. Well, I'm not going to test you. I'm not going to push you, but I'm going to teach you how to make a stepper card. So there's a few steps to it. It's very, very, very repetitive. But I thought it was something that I might just challenge you a little bit with. So I would really like you to have a go. We're going to do the video, which of course you can watch back time and time and time again. And I'm going to go quite slowly, for me, more than you. And I'm also going to do the write-up for it and put it on our website for you as a download, because I think it's important that you have the words and the pictures. Because sometimes, oh, we could do it as a blog post. Yes, we could do it as a blog post. That's a good idea, Andrew. Andrew is the person in my ear that's upstairs directing all the cameras. So either way, we'll make sure that you get the instructions. But it's something that I'd never designed before, so I had to really think about how it worked. But I'm really pleased with how it came out. So it's just a regular stepper card, a centre step, well, yeah, centre stepper, I guess, that just is made with different perforation lines and cut lines. But I am very aware that in some of the CM machines, you don't have a perforation line or a straight line. So the first thing I'm going to do is show you how to make one of those in Canvas Workspace. Now, if somebody had said that to me 8 years ago, I'd have been like, I'm not doing Canvas, don't like it, don't want to do it, don't want to go on a computer, hate them, not good at them. All the excuses would have come out. Actually, it's blinking brilliant. That's all I can have to say, because you can do more in Canvas Workspace than you can directly on your machine, but they work together hand in hand. It's a really clever program. And if you use the web app version, so when you search Brother Canvas Workspace, there's two options. One of them you download onto your PC, and one of them you just use in the cloud. And the one in the cloud I think is easier to learn, because the icons that are on your machine are also in there, but there's extra things. And I am delighted to tell you that on Friday we're bringing Cutting Craftorium back, which I'm super, super excited about. Cutting Craftorium was a brand that I built over the last 3 or 4 years into one of the most successful brands to come out of Innovation Hub, and it's all about making 3D projects and a little bit more advanced projects, which is great. So we're doing a box one just to get us started again, and we've got 30 boxes, 30 different patterns, and you can put any pattern in any panel on any box. But you can only do that by going into Canvas, and it's super. Yes, Tanya, I know, it is a bit like mouth jaw drop to the floor then, Tanya. So Friday at 6 o'clock, that's launching. And I will do a lot of Canvas in those shows, but I'm also filming education tomorrow. So please don't be scared of Canvas Workspace, because I was, and I wasted time. And now I go to it all the time. In fact, I'm always just send a file there, bring it back, send a file there, bring it back. But I'm also aware that not all the CMs are Wi-Fi enabled, so you will need a blank USB. Now, we sell a compatible one on the Highlight Crafts website. I think they're $4.99. But you need a USB that works in your ScanNCut, because it doesn't read every USB out there. If you want to know which ones it does, use Google the way I use it and just put compatible USBs for Brother ScanNCut, and it brings up a list for you. It is literal. So if it says Cruiser 8 gig and not Cruiser 16 gig, don't buy a 16. Don't think just because the brand's there you can buy any. Just make sure it's on that list. But to be honest, it's just as easy to get one from us. So Canvas Workspace, all you need to do is register for an account. So that's your email address, a username and a password. That's all they need. There's no sign up fee. You don't pay anything extra for it at all. It's completely free. And once you've put that onto your laptop, PC, phone, iPad, tablet, whichever, Mac, doesn't matter. You can use Canvas in all those. When you've got your account and you've signed in, this is a screen that you'll see. So let me show you what you'll see. This is a screen that you will see when you open up Canvas. And I'm sure some of you have already been in there, but there will be some that haven't. And all these are projects that you can create in Canvas. So if we click on the calligraphy gift bag, for example, it gives you the file that you need, and you can either take that into Canvas and edit it, or you can download it directly. This is the second one, so it gives you a second cutting file. It takes you to a video. it gives you the step-by-step instructions, and you can download all the parts as a zipped file. And a zipped file means that it's like a packet of dies that hasn't been opened. That's what it's like. And to unzip something, you just right click and extract all, and it will open all the files up, and then you'll send them to a USB. And we're going to do some little short videos for you as well on how to do things like that. But it is super, super simple to do. If I can do it, anybody can do it, because me and technology are not the best of friends, even now. So to go to the main screen, if we just go back to here, this is where we start. And there are hundreds of these. There's literally loads of them. And you can scroll down and see all of them. They all come with cutting files. But what we want to do is create a new file. And the first thing we need to do to be able to do the project that we're going to do tonight is create a straight line and make another perforation line, so that we can actually add in the cut lines and the perforation lines into our stepper card. And as I've always said to you, I'm never going to leave the people behind that invested in ScanNCut 8 years ago, because you're just as important as the people that have bought one yesterday. It doesn't matter to me when you bought it, which machine you've got. I want you to get the most out of it, because they are blimmin' brilliant machines. So the first thing we're going to do, and we're going to create a straight line, and the only way to do it is by using this path. Okay, so a path is a line in graphic design speak. So if you click on path, you need to activate it first. So you click on it and it lights up a little bit. And the way that I find easiest to do a straight line is come to the middle of the side of your mat, and down the side of the mat you'll see you've got a red dotted line. That's your cut area. And I use that to make sure that my line's straight. So I'm going to left click on my mouse, which will bring up a point, and then I'm going to drag that down. So left click on your mouse and drag it down, and try and get that line as straight as you possibly can. Okay, so I'm going to just nudge it a little bit there, so I can see that it's right over those red dotted lines. Then let go of your mouse and double left click, and that releases it. And it makes it smaller, and it makes it into a straight line, okay? So then getting it with the mouse is a little bit tricky. So if you can't do it like that, left click your mouse and drag a box around it to select it. Sometimes it's a little bit tricky because it's a line, not a shape. You've got to grab exactly where you need it to go. Now, the other thing that I need you to notice is down at the bottom, I'm not worried about the height measurement, but the width needs to be 0. So if you're not quite straight, it will give you a numerical value there. So it might say 1 mil or 0.5 mil. That width there, that width number there needs to be 0, because then it's a straight line, and that's what we need to use. So that's how you'll know if you've got it straight or not. The next thing we need is a perforation line. So we're going to go into edit, and I am going to take you on a journey in Canvas Workspace. Not yet, but I am going to take you in and teach you everything I know about it, because this is just fabulous. So here we've got cut, copy and paste. So delete it, copy it, paste it, duplicate it. So rather than copying and paste, we just do one click on duplicate and it gives me another line. But that's another straight line, and I want it to be a perforation line. So if you go into the properties of a shape or a line, it tells you the height, it tells you the width, it tells you that it's vertical, so there's no degree angle attached to it. And then down here you've got line type. So this line right now will cut and draw if I wanted to. So if I select cut, it'll cut. If I select draw, it'll draw. You can have it as a cutting only line, a drawing only line, but we're not worried about that. This is the bit that we want, the dash pattern down here. So if you click on that little arrow there, your drop down menu comes up, and you want this. So it's the first, second, third, fourth one down. Oh, there's a straight line. Oh no, I needed a straight line anyway. I was going to say we could have just clicked that, but you can't, because you need something to make it into. So when I click that now and click off it, I've now got a perforation line and I've got a straight line. So all we're going to do then is you will have popped your USB into your computer, and then you're going to go to download. So you go to download, and it asks you how you want to transfer it. If you've got a CM900, you can ScanNCut transfer, so it will send it wirelessly to your machine. If you haven't, this is the people that I'm doing this for really, because your CM900 has the perforation line, the straight line in it. You can download it to your PC and it will take it to your downloads automatically. So if I just click on downloads, you see it's come up here now, and it's also come up here at the bottom. So all I'm going to do is wait for this. So once this folder appears, you can then show in folder. So left click and it's there at the top. So it exports it as an FCM file, because originally the ScanNCut was made as a fabric cutting machine. That's why the file format is called FCM. And then all you're going to do is right click on that, go down to send to, and send it to your USB. Now I haven't got a USB in the laptop at the moment because I've just done this before we came live, but you'll send it to the USB. And then you'll go to your USB here. When it's there, right click on it and eject it. And that's you've then got what you need to be able to do the rest of the class. So super simple, but I wanted to show you that rather than going, we'll come back next week and I'll show you how to do that bit. So that's that bit done. So when I designed this, and it took me a couple of goes because I didn't have a stepper card here and I don't have pictures in my head. So I can't see it, so I can't imagine what it looks like and where everything needs to go. So I draw everything out. I have to. If I'm designing a box, if I'm designing whatever, I have to draw it out so that I can see it, because then it makes sense. Andrew, did you say there was a quick question? Yes, you can. So can you send the file via a cable? You can. There is a port in here that you can link with an AB printer lead, and you link that to your computer and then you can send it via there. I just find a USB really useful, because if I've designed anything like the stepper card, I can then save it onto a USB, and the next time I come to it, it's there. Just because I don't always have my computer on, but it's whatever you prefer to do. But yes, you can. I don't think you can with the CM600, but you can with the 300, the 700 and the 900. I think that was the one thing that changed after the 600, but you can use a USB in all of them. So I drew it all out. So this is our card shape. You've got your two slits that come down here. You've got your perforation line that goes across the middle of the card, and then you've got all these perforation lines here. So if I bring in the one that I've folded, you'll see how it works together. So you've got your centre perforation line there, and then all your other perforation lines down here. So you fold it, so you can do a mounting fold, a valley fold, and then two mounting folds at the top, and it gives you a perfect stepper card. And I think it's really nice that you can do stuff like this. Now, this is the biggest size you will get on a 12 by 12 mat, but don't forget we sell 12 by 24 inch mats as well. So if you've got A3 cardstock, you can make it bigger. You could also make it wider if you wanted to, and you can also put an aperture in, but we'll do that on a later class because I don't want to overwhelm you with too many instructions, because I know when I'm learning, I need to learn the bit I need to know to do the next bit that I want to do. I don't want to learn the whole thing. I want to learn it a bit at a time, because I think sometimes when you look at a project and you're like, I will never remember how to do that. But when I break it down and you do step 1, then you've done that, you do step 2, then you've done that, you do step 3. And it's super simple, and it's been really apparent this weekend because we've done our first classes at Highlight Crafts, face-to-face classes, which I was so excited about. Stephanie's been teaching some ladies to paint, the one-stroke painting. And it was really interesting because when they went in, you could see they were all like, I won't be able to do this. And by the end of it, they absolutely could, because she talks about it being like an alphabet. So you learn the letters, you learn the shapes, and then you put it all together. This is very much like that. So let's get started. So the first thing we're going to do is select a shape that we can make that rectangle from. So on our ScanNCut, we've got the minimum amount of patterns we've got in is 601. Which is on the CM600. So you've got a lot of scope to go with. So we go into patterns and we go into our basic shapes here. Now, you might as well use a square than search for the rectangle. So we're just going to click the square. We're going to separate. So this little button here is an absolute fabulous button because it separates the height from the width. So I can now make that into a rectangle, and any size rectangle that I want within the parameters of the mats. So we want it to be 296 millimeters high. So we're going to unlock the height and the width. We're going to make that 296. So keep going. There we go. And we want it 178 millimeters wide. So we're going to make that 178. And this is brilliant because then you can make the project that you've got in your head, because you can make the box fit the gift, if you like, because you can separate the height and the width. So it's not like buying nested rectangles or nested ovals where you've got to buy several sets to get them all that interlock into each other. You're in complete control of this in millimetre increments. So we've got that. We're going to set that onto the mat. So we've got our rectangle, and then we're going to add. Now, in the instructions, I put add border BOB001, which is the straight line. You can't do that on your CM machine. So what we're going to do is add the straight line that I made earlier and put on my USB. So we go to add. We want saved data because it's external to the machine. It's on a USB, and we access it via the USB there. And if I go down here, I've got my straight line and I've got my perforation line. So I'm going to press OK. Now I'm not sure which is which at the moment, so I need to zoom in. So I'm going to zoom in to see which is which. And as soon as you zoom in, you can see that that's my perforation line. And the other one, therefore, is my straight line. So I'm going to get rid of that one first because we can add it in after. And all I'm going to do is save. Let me think how I can do that. I'm just going to try something because I haven't tried this before. If I change my cut area, see now 8 years on, I'm still discovering new things. I don't know if it's going to work, but you can only try. If I do that and I move it over there, so it's only going to pick up that, will it allow me just to save that bit? Might do. We'll find out when we go and get it later on. That would be exciting because that's something else that I've just learnt all those years on. And that's why I love the ScanNCut, because it just keeps growing with you. Right, so for now, I'm going to put that in the bin, and then we'll find out later on whether it worked or not. We're going to resize it to 148 millimeters. Okay, so we want to go into our size. Remember, there's no width, so we don't need to separate the height and the width this time. We just need to make that 148 millimeters. Okay, so I've now got my straight line. We're going to duplicate that because we need one on the left and one on the right. So while we're here in our number box, we're going to put 2 in, and we're going to press OK. So I've now got 2 straight lines, and one of them I'm just going to move over to the side because we don't need that one just yet. I'm going to select the rectangle and one of the straight lines. So I need to make sure that either that one or that one has got the red box around it. And then I'm going to multiple select, and I don't want everything on the mat this time. I want part of the mat because I don't want this second straight line. So I'm going to click on there and I'm going to drag over that second straight line. As soon as you drag over a shape and it can't see it as a shape or it can't see the line, it ignores it. So I'm going to press OK. And now I've just got that one line and the rectangle. And we're going to align these to the bottom and to the left. So we're going to press OK now. We go into our directional arrow buttons here, and at the top you will have an alignment function. If you haven't got this button on your machine, you need to do an update. And this was an update that came probably 7 years ago. So if you've never used your machine, if it's still in that box, go to Brother, Andrew, will you put this in the chat please? Brother Solutions Centre UK. It must be the UK version because the American machines are different to ours. So Brother Solutions Centre UK. You will need a blank compatible USB because updates are done via a USB on the CM machines, apart from the CM900, maybe the CM700. So the 300 and 600. And it will talk you through the process of downloading. So it will ask you what you want to update. So is it a sewing machine, an embroidery machine, a printer, a scanner? You select cutting machine. It will ask you for the model. It will ask you which platform you're working on, whether it's Windows, Mac, etc. And then it literally talks you through the process. It's super, super easy to do. So if you haven't got that, you need to get it, because that will become one of your best friends in this journey. So we're going to align it by clicking on here. And wherever the straight line is in these boxes is where it aligns to. So we want to align it to the bottom and to the left. So now that second line is right over the top of there. So we press OK and we tap the screen to release the shapes. That's really important. You need to separate those shapes from both being selected before you can move it. Otherwise the whole thing moves. Now, this is the bit where it gets exciting for me, because I've worked out what distance each nudge is, because I want to be really accurate with my ScanNCut. So on an SDX machine, each space is 0.5 millimetre. On a CM machine, each space is 1 millimetre. So if I want to move this space in by 30 millimetres, I press the right hand button 30 times. If I want to move it up 25 millimetres, I press the up button 25 times. So it's super, super simple to do. So there is a little bit of counting involved, but I think it will be worth it. And even if you don't like making stepper cards, make the file, because you're learning something. And this is all I do. I just play around with it. I'm one of those people that goes, wonder what would happen if I did this? Got me into trouble a few times, but never mind. So we're going to go up 25 spaces, because I want an inch. If I just bring the picture back in and we have a look, the distance between the bottom of the shape card and the first line and the bottom of this cut line here is an inch. And an inch is about roughly 25 millimetres. So we're going to go up 25 spaces. There is a buzzer on here if you want to put it on. I'm not going to do it because it drives some people crazy, and sometimes it sets dogs barking. It drives people crazy. I don't mind it because subconsciously I can hear it, so I know that I've pressed it. And then I'm going to move it in 30 millimetres because I wanted a wider distance here so that I can do mats and layers. So they're not getting really, really fine as we start to do mats and layers. So I'm going to come across 30 spaces. Right, so I've now got that cut line in exactly the place that I want it to be, which is great. So now I'm going to group those two pieces together, because if I don't, when I then align this second straight line, this one will move. So it's important that we group that first. So I'm going to press OK. We're going to do the same thing again. Multiple select, part of the mat, drag the arrow over, press OK, and again. And then this one here, two separate shapes with one select box around it, is group. So it's then grouped, okay? So now we're going to do the same with this one, but we're going to align it to the bottom and the right. So we multiple select everything on the mat this time. Press OK. We go to our directional arrow buttons because we're moving the shapes, and our alignment function at the top, and we're going to align it to the bottom and the right. We're going to press OK, and we're going to tap the screen to release those shapes. Now it's released the rectangle and it's released the straight line, but the straight line is now underneath the rectangle. So when it puts the shapes on top of shapes, it puts them in a pile. So I can't get, I can get to that straight line. Sod's law. If you can't get to a straight line, if you're ever tapping it and you can't get to a shape, you use these select arrows and you'll see it moves from one shape to another, because it does pile them up. So it piles them on top of each other sometimes. And if you've got a smaller circle underneath a big square, you can't get to the circle, you use your select arrows. So I'm going to do exactly the same thing that I did before. I'm going to go to my directional arrow buttons. I'm going to move it 30 spaces in. and 25 spaces up. How many of you counting with me? If I was at home now, I'd be going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So now we're going to group that together. Okay, so we're going to press OK. We're going to multiple select everything on the mat, press OK, and we're going to group it together. Now at any point you can ungroup that, but once you've saved it, you can't. The only way you can ungroup a saved object is by taking it into Canvas Workspace, and then you can ungroup it in there. And it also depends on how a file has been saved. So I'm just going to explain that a little bit because that is important, and it's going to be important when we do Cutting Craftorium this weekend as well. So if a file, when a graphic designer designs a file, they will create a rectangle or whatever shape they're creating, and then they'll create the oval that goes in the middle of it. The ScanNCut sees that as a square with an oval on top. If the graphic designer creates what they call a compound path, that means that it then sees it as a rectangle with an oval aperture. So it sees it the way that we see it. The ScanNCut sees it differently. And that's where Canvas comes in, because you can, the reason that we don't compound our paths and make it see it the way that we see it, the reason that we ask you to do that in Canvas is because I can then take that oval and put a heart in there instead. Or I can make the oval bigger, or I can make it smaller. So it gives you more creativity within the shapes that we bring you, but it does mean that you have to do a little bit more work. But it's literally a press of a button, and it does it. So you've got more options. And if you want, even if you're not going to buy the Cutting Craftorium or Digital Craftorium, as we now have to call it, I don't mind. I just want you to watch the shows because you will learn a lot about Canvas. And we're also doing some education that will be on YouTube that ties into that USB. So you'll be able to watch that back as well. Right, and it's quite complex what I'm going to teach you, so don't panic if it goes like that, because it would have gone like that with me in the first place, but you learn it as you go along. So what we need to do now, if I just bring this picture back in, is now put in our perforation lines, because this is where our fold lines are going to be. Now the important thing to remember when you're doing a perforation line is it must not touch a cut line, a vertical cut line or a horizontal cut line. Because if it does exactly what it's made to do, and it perforates, so it will tear. So we always make sure that when we create a perforation line and we put it within 2 cutting lines, we make sure that it doesn't touch that cutting line. We make sure that it's slightly inward. It's still foldable because there isn't like, it's not like there's a 10mm gap, there'll be like a 2mm gap. So it's easy to still fold and get that nice crease. But it's really important that your perforation lines don't touch the edge, because literally it will tear. So we're going to press OK, and we're going to find out now whether it just saved that perforation line or not. So we're going to press OK, and we're going to add, and we're going to go into Save Data and into the USB, and let's go down to the bottom, and no, it didn't save it. Okay, that's interesting. Oh, hang on. What was that USB content there? No, that's not it either. No, it didn't. Okay, so we know that it doesn't. That's all right. We know that it doesn't do that. We've learned that it doesn't, so we're okay with that. So that was my straight line there, so I can get rid of that one. And this one is my perforation line now. Let me just check, make sure I'm right, otherwise we're going to do all this and I'll have to redo it all again, which is standard for me. Let's have a look. Yeah, there's the perforation line, can you see? So, the first thing we're going to do is select it, and we're going to rotate it because we need it to be horizontal, not vertical. So we go into our axis of the screens and we rotate it by 90 degrees. So we've now got a horizontal perforation line. I need that to be, and I'm going to go back to my instructions so I'll make sure I get it right for you. We're going to make it 25mm wide, because the perforation line is going to go in between the outside edge of the card and the cut line that we've just put in. And the distance there is 30 millimetres. So I'm taking 5 millimetres off, or 4 millimetres off, depending on how you want to go, so that it fits perfectly. Now, because the CM, each nudge is 1 millimetre, I'm actually going to change it to 4 mil less, because I can't do half a mil. So it wouldn't matter if it was 3 mil on one and 2 on the other. It wouldn't make any difference, but let's just do that. So we're going to make it so that it's 26 millimetres wide. So just keep going down like this. Right, so I've now got my perforation line there, but I need 2. And I want one that's going to go here on the left, and then one that's going to go above it. So this one here and this one here is what we're working on right now. So we're going to put these 2 in first. So I'm going to ask it to do 2, and I'm going to press OK. So I've now got my 2 perforation lines. I'm just going to go back because Andrew's asked me to go back. Hang on, Andrew, let me work out how to do it now. So into here, do 2, press OK. So we've now got 2. Yep. So what I want to do is put that one directly on top of there. So we're going to multiple select part of the mat, drag over that card base, press OK twice, go back to our directional arrow buttons and your alignment function and align it centrally vertically and centrally horizontally. Press OK and group it together. And the reason that I'm doing 2 is I'm going to line them both up to the left and the bottom. I'm then going to move the first one up 25 spaces. I'm going to ungroup it and move the second one up another 25 spaces, rather than doing 1 there, then bringing another one on, aligning that, moving that up 50. It's an easier way of doing it. So we've got that grouped. So all we need to do now is multiple select everything on the mat, press OK, go to your directional arrows and your alignment function, align it to the bottom and the left, press OK and tap the screen to release those perforation lines. I'm going to nudge it across 1, 2, 3, 4. So I've got my spacing, and now I'm going to go up 25 millimetres. Right, so it's perfectly now aligned with that cut line there. I'm going to press OK, I'm going to ungroup it and tap the screen. And now I've tapped the screen, it's released those 2 shapes. So now I can just go up another 25. There we go. So I've now got those two in exactly the right place. So we're going to duplicate this one because we need to do the other side. So while we're here, we might as well go into here and ask it to do 2 and press OK. Drag the one that it's just given me over there, and then we're going to group all this together so it doesn't move. So we're going to multiple select part of the mat, drag over there, press OK and group it together. So we've now got that. So we're now going to do exactly the same thing but on this side. So the first thing we need to do is select that perforation line. We're going to duplicate it. So we've got 2 and we're going to put that one directly on top of there. This is what I mean about it being repetitive. And when you do something a lot, it becomes second nature. Multiple select part of the mat. And I would class this as quite advanced, but when you break it down into small sections, it's logical. And I do have a very logical brain. Even though I don't have shapes and I don't have pictures and I don't have all that stuff, I can break something down and be very logical. It's the engineering bit in my brain, I think. So I'm going to press OK now, and I'm going to go to my arrows, and I'm going to go to my alignment function and align it centrally vertically, centrally horizontally, press OK twice and group it together. Then we're going to put that down there. So we multiple select everything that's on the mat, press OK, directional arrows because we're moving the shapes, to our alignment function, and we do bottom and right. Press OK, tap the screen, and there's the perforation lines. Let's move it across 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we go up 25 spaces. press OK, ungroup it, tap the screen to release the shapes, and then go up again. I'm just going to zoom in because that looks like it's a little bit outside there. Can you see how it's moved over a little bit too far? So I'm going to press OK and I'm going to nudge it back a couple of spaces like that. And then I need to do the same with these. So I'm going to ungroup the whole thing. So if I tap on this, ungroup it, tap the screen, I can then make that, nudge that over a little bit over there, and that one a little bit further over there. I'll get it absolutely bang on for you when I do the instructions, because I'll do it on the CM and then rewrite it out as a different set. So we've now got multiple select, everything on the mat, press OK and group it together. So now I've got the basics of that. So what I want to do now is put the larger perforation line in the middle here. Okay, so this is the bit that's going to, this is this line here, the bit that's going to create that fold there. So let's see where we're up to, because I've just gone ahead. This is what I do all the time. I write all my instructions out and then I forget what I've done. Right, so to show you how I worked this out, this is the easiest way to do it. So from here to here, so from there to there was 178 millimeters. So that was 178 millimeters. We have 30 there and 30 there. So you take 60 away. And I still have to write it out like I did when I was at school. Do you remember? It's 118. I then want to take 4 millimeters away because I don't want it to touch those cut lines. So you take away -4 and that equals 114. So I know that that perforation line there needs to be 114 millimeters. And I don't want to just tell you that, I want to explain to you how I got to that, because if you make one that's wider, you need to know how to do it. So that's how I did it. 178 is the width of the whole card blank, less than 60, 30 there and 30 there, less 4 so the perforation lines don't touch the middle. So we want 114 millimeters. This is my favourite thing to do. I love working out how to do things like this. That's why I love the machine so much, because it does challenge me. It makes me think differently. And then, so I'll do it, then I'll see if I can do it faster. And then I'll, not faster as in time-wise, just quicker with doing different things to make the process faster. And then I'll sit there and go, right, how do I teach it? And that's the bit that I love. I really love doing that bit. So we're going to press OK. We're going to add. Now I'm going to move this over here. We're going to add, and we're going to go back into our save data and into the USB. And we're going to go down until we find our perforation line again. Sorry, I was just looking at something else then. Right, so I'm going to get rid of that and put that in the bin, because I know that that's my straight line, because I remember. Now on the CM machine, you have to move it away from the side to give it enough room to rotate. So I'm going to go into my access other screens and I'm going to rotate that by 90 degrees. And then I'm going to resize it and make it 114 millimeters. Now, can you see how it stopped at 90? That's because it's hit the side of the mat. So move it away and then keep going like that. So I've now got my perforation line that's 114 millimeters wide, and I want to put that directly into the middle of my card, because if I just bring the card back in, the score line here is further down, so it doesn't go right up to the top of that cut line. That's what I did first of all, and that's what I got wrong. It needs to come further down. So the perforation line needs to be in the center of your card blank, because then when it folds, it's level at the bottom like that. Okay, so we're going to press OK. We're going to multiple select everything on the mat, repetition again, press OK, directional arrows, alignment function, align it centrally vertically and centrally horizontally, so it's directly in the middle of that rectangle, and then you press OK and you group it. Well, before you do, let's duplicate it. So we're going to duplicate it. Oh, has it done that? There's something I've done there. What's it done? I need to tap the screen to release the shapes. if you ever do this and these are greyed out like it was then, it's because you haven't released the shapes. So it's not grouped, but it's not completely ungrouped, so it doesn't know what to do with it. So it comes up with the numbers that are greyed out. That's what, if that happens, it means that it's either you haven't tapped the screen to release the shapes. That's what it means. So now we can duplicate it. So I can do 2. There's always a reason, and more often than not, in my case, it's user error. And then you have to go back and think, and especially when I do these classes, because I do SDX from 5:30 till 6:30 and then CM from 7 till 8, I have to flip my head between the both, and I'm like, okay, I have to do a bit of this. So what I want to do is group this. So we select part of it, then we multiple select part of the mat, drag over that second perforation line that we've just created, press OK, and group that together. So we've now got that. So now this is going to become that narrow one. So I'm going to take this back now to 26 millimeters, because what I want to do is these 2 score lines here. So when we go back on the camera there, these 2 here, that create this fold. All right, so this is, because you're taking an inch here, so if that part wasn't there, it would be there. This score line will be there. But because we're taking an inch away, when we bend this backwards, we need to compensate from that by moving the score line up from this line, 25 mil up. So let's do 2. Oh, there we go. There we go. Let's move one over there and let's work with this one. So we want to multiple select part of the mat, drag over there and press OK. Now, rather than aligning it to the top and having it to move it down all those spaces, I'm going to align it to the center horizontally, like that. So it puts it in the middle, it puts it in line with that score line, and to the left. And then all I need to do is press OK, tap the screen to release the shapes, go into my select arrows to make sure I've got the right perforation, move that over 2 spaces because I want to bring it in 2 millimeters, and then I'm going to move it up so that it hits the top of that line, and the distance between the center score line and the top of the cut line is 25 millimeters. So we move it up 25 spaces. And that's now in a perfect position. So now we group that together. So we multiple select part of the mat, drag over that second perforation line, press OK and group it together. So you've now got that line in perfect position. So we do the same thing with this, but this time we move it to this side. So we multiple select everything on the mat, press OK, go to your directional arrow buttons, your alignment function, align it to the center horizontally and to the right this time. Tap the screen to release the shapes, select the perforation line that we want, nudge it over 2 spaces so we know it's in the middle, and then we go up 25. And then you group that together. So you multiple select everything on the mat, press OK, go to, I was going to say go to object edit, but you don't on here. I'm getting the SDX and group it. So now you've got your stepper card all designed. That's how cool it is. So once you've done that, you save it. All right, so I know that was a lot of words and a lot of numbers and a lot of alignment, etc. But you can watch it back time and time and time again. And I will make sure that I get these instructions up. It won't be in the next couple of days because I'm up to here in work, but as soon as I get a minute, I'll put the written instructions up for you as well. So all I'm going to do now is press OK and save that, and I can save it onto my USB. It's telling me that it includes a group pattern. If you want to go back and ungroup every part of it, you can do, but I'm quite happy to save it as a grouped pattern because that's what I want to do. Now it's asking me, because I brought up a file earlier, brought up the perforation lines, etc. It's asking me if I want to overwrite the original or create a new file, and I want to create a new file. So I've now saved it, and it's number 8 on the USB. Now what I want to teach you now is how to create the matte layers that go on here. So we're going to do that. So we're going to go to Home and press OK. So we know, I'm going to do the measurements for you. So you're going to measure from your center score line down to the bottom of your card. All right, so we're going to measure from here to here, and that's 147 millimeters. Okay. Now I would advise, when you've designed your stepper card, if you've got a pen that will go into your universal pen holder, or you've got the original ones from Brother, draw it out, because that's what I did. And then you can put all your measurements on here. So you can then do an arrow. So from there, this is going back to my technical drawing days, this, from there to there. So you've got 147 millimeters in height, and the width is 118. So it's 118 millimeters wide, so from there to there. Okay, then we need this section down here, because we're going to look at this as 2 separate rectangles. So I know that this is 25 mil from there to there, because I've done that with my perforation lines, and I know that this bit is 178 wide, because that's what we did at the beginning. So that's 178. So I need 2 rectangles. One that is 147 millimeters high by 118 millimeters wide, and another one that is 25 millimeters high by 178 millimeters wide. Okay, so I know now that that's what I need to do. And I'm doing this, and I'm doing it exactly the same size, because I think, for me personally, when I'm making a shape, I make it the full size of the piece that I want it to go on top of, and then I start to reduce it down. Because if I don't, I get mixed up. If I start thinking, right, I've got to take 6 off that, and 6 off that, and 4 off this, I lose track. So I just make the shape so it fits exactly, and then I start to manipulate it. So to do that, we're going to go into Patterns, and we're going to get our square again. And we're going to make it 147 millimeters high. So separate the height and the width, make it 147 by 118. And I'm going to ask it to do 2 of those, and I'm going to set it on the mat, because now all I'm going to do is resize this one. So I'm going to go here again, into my resize button, separate the height and the width, make it 25 millimeters high, and make it 178 millimeters wide. Oh. I haven't found anything that you can't do with the CM machine and Canvas Workspace that you can do with your SDX, apart from things like the piercing tool. And just to clear that, there's a bit of a thing going around at the moment, because we brought the piercing tool to Create and Craft last week, and the piercing tool, I actually asked Brother if they would design something that would create holes, because I thought it would be really good. And they said that they would make all accessories available for CM machines and SDX, but when they designed it, and this is why it's valid, and I was okay with this bit, they had to make a mat that was thick enough for a piercing tool to go in, so like a needle to go in it, like a sewing machine, and it has to move up and down like that. And because on the CM machines, the back rollers, so these static rollers in here, you can't lift them. When it scanned in with the thickness of the mat, it hit the scanning unit at the back, and it stopped the machine from working. The SDX, when they made the SDX, you can lift the back rollers, so it allows you to scan in thicker materials. So it wasn't that they were going, we're not doing it for CM, because CM, we're now on to SDX. There was a valid reason for it not being able to be used. And that's the reason. And I've tried it, because you know what I'm like, I got it and I was like, right, well, you need to prove that to me, because otherwise I'm going to be really cross with you. And I scanned it in and it caught the back. So I was like, okay, all right, fair enough. I'll give you that one. But otherwise, other than that, I'm adamant that we're not going to walk away from CM. And all our USBs, past ones and future ones, will work with all machines. So back to this, because I've had my little waffle now. We're going to weld these two together, okay? But first of all, I need to align them. So we multiple select everything on the mat and we press OK. Directional arrow buttons again. Go to your alignment function. We want them centrally vertically and we want to align it to the bottom. So this gives me that perfect shape. If I bring the card back in again, in fact, I'll do it on this drawing. You've got your 25mm going up there, which you've got on your screen. Then we come in, then we go up, across, down, across and down, and then your bottom piece. So it looks a bit like a top hat. So then we press OK, and we are going to multiple select everything on the mat, press OK, and weld it together. Now, if I just cancel that, this one is weld. Welding is like digitally gluing. You can't weld something unless the two shapes are overlapped. And we'll do more of that when we get onto box making and all that kind of stuff. So welding means that it then creates one shape from the two. Now you cannot reverse this, even in Canvas. So once you've committed to it, that's it. So I'm going to press OK. Now we want to create what we call inward offset lines, so matte layers. So that piece there would completely fill the front of that stepper card, and I don't want it to, because I like the colour of the card that I've made and I want to see it. So if you're working with a Wi-Fi enabled machine, you can then send this now by pressing save into, well, this one isn't Wi-Fi enabled, but there'll be a picture of the cloud and you can send it there. I can't do that on this machine, and if you've got a non-Wi-Fi enabled one, you can't either. So let's work out how we do. So we go in, save it onto the USB. It tells me it's file number 9, and I'm happy with that, so I press OK. Now what I'm going to do is take the USB out of my ScanNCut, and I'm going to put it in my computer. So I'll be back in a minute. I'm going to go back in here, put this in, get it the right way around, Melanie. See, you know when I say I don't do technology? Right, so back into Canvas Workspace now. So how do we import a file? Has it gone off? What am I doing? What? No, there's nothing on my screen. Oh, there we are. Right. See, I hate technology. Right, so we're back in Canvas now. So let's close this down because we don't need this anymore. And left click and drag over those. Now, if you want to save those into Canvas, just go to Project and press plus. And this is why I like using the web app version, because when you hover over it, it tells you what it does. And that's really good. So it's now saved this project as completed. So I can now drag a box over that and put it in the bin. And if you ever wonder where they're saved to your project. So when you go to My Projects and you click on there, there's the file that we've just deleted, okay? If Canvas is open when you save something, then it won't appear here until you refresh. So if it's closed and you open it, it will be there. If it's already open and you add it, you need to refresh, just so that you know. So to import a file, you go to this SVG button here and you click on that, and then it tells you to choose the file. So you click on choose file and it opens up your computer. And on the USB drive there, you can see we've got all these files. So it's number 9. So when I click on number 9, double click, it brings it up here. And then when I press OK, it brings it into there for you. So you import it as an SVG file, and then it imports it. You click on your USB and you bring in the file that you want. So we've now got our shape. So we want to create inward offset lines, and that means a perfect perfectly proportioned, smaller version of this shape. As John Locke would say, mathematically correct. If you just make it smaller, you're not going to get, it's not too bad with angular lines, but when you've got something like a curve, especially an oval, and you'll see it with some nesting dies, they don't nest perfectly all the way down. When you do it as an inward offset line, it does. So this is our original, so we'll highlight that. We go to edit, because we're changing it. And in edit, in the box in the edit on the drop down menu, there are 2 concentric circles. When you hover over it, it says create offset line. So I'm going to click on this and we're going to do a, let's do a, I don't know, let's have a look, 3 millimeters, 2 millimeters, whichever. It's only in 1 millimeter increments. So 3 millimeter, the offset direction is inward because we're making it smaller. And because I want this as my first matte layer, I'm going to delete the original. So you click delete and then you press OK. And there is that perfect matte layer. So that will now sit on top of your card perfectly. And it's even started to curve that little angle for you there. So it gives you a nice curve. Now, if you want to create another one now, we go to edit and we do exactly the same thing again. So you can do this directly on an SDX, but you can't on a CM. But as I said earlier, I haven't found anything, and there might be something, I just haven't found it, that you can't do with canvas and a CM machine that you can do with an SDX, apart from the auto blade, obviously. So that's a 2 millimeter inward, but this time I want to leave the original line as it was, because that's my first matte layer. So I'll go leave as is, and press OK. It will always keep the original highlighted, so you can drag the original out of the way, and then this is your next inward matte layer. So let's do another one. So we'll go to edit, concentric circles. Let's do a, whatever we click on, 3 millimeter inward, and leave the original line as it is. And you can keep going like that. So now if I just left click and drag a box around all those, and I go to edit and I use the alignment function in here, and you'll see it's the same as it is on your ScanNCut. It tells you a line, and we align them centrally vertically, go back to edit and align them centrally horizontally. You've then got your perfect matte layers to be able to cut out and go on top of your stepper card. So you would then select all those, go to edit and group, because you need to make sure that when you are downloading something, it's within that red dotted line area. Then you can go to edit and ungroup, and that will separate them all, and then you will download, do that download process again. And then you'll recall the file and you'll cut them out of the different layers, which is super, super, super cool. And I think I was the first one to go, not doing canvas, don't want to sit in front of a computer, stamping my feet, red hair came out, a little temper tantrum happened, and I was like, no, no, no. As soon as I went in it, fell in love with it, use it all the time. So it might seem a little bit daunting, but I mean, look at all these projects that I've got down here. There's loads that I've saved. These are all the patterns from the USB that we're doing, and you can do some amazing things on Canvas. There's no storage capacity because it's in the cloud, and you can access it anywhere. And it just, honestly, there must be thousands and thousands of patterns that I've done in here. And you can start really, really basic, and you can work up, just like we do with the ScanNCut machine. You know, there's nothing more scary about Canvas than the machine. And if you learn it a bit at a time, you'll learn the next bit that you need to learn to do the next bit that you need to do, then everything starts to come together. And that's why I love the 2 of them together. And I'm so pleased that even though, because you can take files and put them in there via a USB, even if you bought the first ScanNCut 8 years ago, you can still do this. So you can still make it happen, which is fabulous. If you want to save it, all you do is just select it, go to Project and Plus, and then save it in exactly the same way when you download. So download to PC if it's not Wi-Fi enabled. It will open up here, and as soon as a little folder appears, it's there ready. You click on the folder and you open it in your downloads, you right click it and send it to your USB. It's super, super, super simple. To me, it felt really complicated because it's a computer. So it's technology, a bit like this does, which is why we're doing the free classes. If everyone had got them out of the box and been confident enough to use them, we wouldn't be doing all these free classes. And we haven't got an end game for this. This is going to continue until I run out of stuff to teach you, which is brilliant because I love doing these classes, because I can look at the screen and I can see this little light bulb go off in somebody's head and they're like, oh, that's how you do it. That for me brings me so much joy, and I love it when I find something new. So we're just going to carry on with these and then we can learn together. But that's how you make your own stepper card. We made a perforation line and a straight line first of all, then we've made and designed the stepper card, and now we've done all the mats and layers. All you need to do then is cut it out and decorate it. And it's a real sense of achievement when you look at that card and it's not one that you've bought from a shop or bought from TV, and it folds perfectly and it's in the colour that you want and in the size that you want. So it's really good, and I just wanted to do something a little bit more advanced to show you that actually when you break it down it's not. It just takes a little bit longer and a little bit more thought. So that's that. Now, a couple of things to get through. So first of all, we launched a competition about 6 weeks ago, I think, of people who wanted to win an SDX 1200. And we've announced the winner on the first class. So I'm going to re-announce it now. And the winner is Mary Hodgkinson. So Mary, if you're watching, congratulations. If you're not, she'll be very surprised because she'll get an email, drop into her, an email from us in the next 48 hours to say she's won one. So then hopefully next time we'll see her, she'll be on the classes learning how to use it, which will be great. Secondly, as always, we've got a code for you, which is available for 2 weeks. It's MEL, so MEL15. That gives you 15% off anything Brother, including the SDX machine, which is a bargain. Not saying that you have to buy one, but it's there if you want to. And your mats and your blades and all that kind of thing. So you can treat yourself if you want to, if you need a new mat or a new blade. And I will see you I'll see you hopefully on Friday. And even if you're not going to buy the USB, that doesn't bother me. I'm not on commission, doesn't make any difference to me, but I will teach you a lot on Canvas Workspace on this. And the fact that that little bit of software that's free to use and free to get takes the options of having 30 boxes to the option of having 900 options. So that when you buy dies, so I'm just going to say it, when you buy dies to make a box, you've got the box die and then you've got all the decorative panels, and you've got one, possibly two options of that pattern. When you do it digitally, you've got 30 boxes and 30 patterns, and I'm going to teach you how you can put any pattern in any panel on any box. And then you can also weld shapes to those panels or make apertures in the panels, and I'm going to teach you how to do that. So record the shows, even if you're not going to buy it, because you'll learn something. But Cutting Craftorium is back, and I am delighted. And for those of you that don't know, Cutting Craftorium was a brand that I built. It was probably going about 4.5 years, and I got really, really involved about 3 years ago and just built that brand. And I'm so pleased that it's coming back. It made me sad that we had to change the name, not because we had to change the name, but because we typed in Cutting Craftorium in Facebook and it came up as a dangerous word. Cutting is a dangerous word on social media, and I was like, what kind of world are we living in? Anyway, we've changed it to Digital Craftorium, and yeah, we're launching it on Friday, so I'm very excited about that. So thank you, as ever, for taking the time to join me. I hope you've enjoyed the class. I hope you'll go and have a go. Keep an eye out for those instructions because they will be there as soon as I can physically get them done. And have a lovely evening and the rest of the week. Take care. Lots of love. Bye.
If you want to see more from Highlight Crafts, make sure you subscribe by clicking the button below. Then click the bell icon to receive notifications for all our new content.